At Stomping Ground, we inspire the next generation of radically empathetic decision makers and then reimagine a more perfect world with them. Today, we have a chance to reimagine what camp can look like. 6 years ago, Stomping Ground started as just an idea of what the world could be like if we brought kids together that didn't know each other, that were different from each other in as many ways as possible, gave them a chance to be themselves, to learn how to make decisions by making them instead of by following directions, and then to work through conflict in a restorative way. Today, that idea is more of a reality and more needed than ever before. We have this property, it's beautiful, and it needs you. Over the last 6 months, we've worked tirelessly to begin the process of rehabbing this property, taking it from a place full of deferred maintenance to the beautiful home that we hope to have kids at next summer. But we can't stop there. We started working with an architect. Ryan has been amazing. He's helped us look through the process, trying to discover what is happening right now, make a vision for the future, a plan to get there, and then start to implement it. That discovery process started really with figuring out where are we. We did surveys, we talked to so many camper families, to stakeholders, to donors, to partners, and put together a look at what is camp, what is Stomping Ground, and why do people bother to care about it? Why bother spend time, energy, money investing in this place? And what we found is exactly what we hoped we would, which is that people care about Stomping Ground because of the mission, the community, and the relationships that are formed here. Everything else helps make those things possible. And this property is a tool to help advance that mission. How can we be better at inspiring the next generation of radically empathetic decision makers? How can we be more equitable? How can we be more focused on giving kids chances to make decisions? How can we bring people to camp that wouldn't normally think about being here? How can we do that better because we have a property now? That's what our visioning sessions have been about, and that's what I want to share a little bit with you today. Start to hear some of your feedback, and we can keep iterating on this vision of what the future of Stomping Ground will look like. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to try and quickly describe the process that we went through and some of the vision of where we're going. You're not going to see perfect drawings of cabins or buildings. What you're going to see is blobby maps of where we're imagining we can go, and we'll dig into each of those blobs in later conversations. We kind of outlined 4 big categories, 4 big priorities for this property that we can start to work on to make it a better place for kids, a better place for accomplishing the mission. And before we get into that, there's gonna be a lot of ideas that are big and could look like off-season programming and bring people to camp that aren't kids. That's all important, and we're gonna look at that, but we're gonna always hold true to that fact that Stomping Ground is a place for kids during the summer, and everything else we hope to do is a part of that. 4 big priorities that we're looking at. 1 is villages and safety. How can we make sure that kids have a comfortable place to sleep, to use the restroom, to eat, to do the everyday comfortable things of camp, everyday comfortable things of life, but at a place that is new to them with new people and in new surroundings. So villages is number 1. Number 2 is how do we expand upon downtown Stomping Ground? Downtown Stomping Ground is the center of camp. It's where we've played Gaga, had Makerspace, the Grove. It's where kids can come and explore different aspects of what's happening at camp. Number 3 is what can we do to begin to develop programs that are outside of downtown Stomping Ground? Some of these programs might be their standalone centers. We may run an arts camp at the same time as main camp. We may run a racial equity camp at the same time as main camp. What are those things? But what can we look at to expand our programming in those areas? Or what additions can we make to the main camp program? Like how could we potentially add music studios and those kind of things? How can we kind of add some flair to what kids are already doing so that connections can be made through the program? That's the goal of all of these things, is to make connections happen more quickly and easily based on kids' interest. Number 4 is what can we do to showcase this property? What can we do to showcase the mission of camp through the property, through murals, through interactive trails, and what can we do to bring people to the property to help them be more bought in to the mission and to helping more kids experience camp? Let's look at some maps. Ryan put together a few maps for us to look at with some graphics on them. You can see all these maps in more detail at stompingground.org/vision 2020. Here's the kind of the overview map. You can see that there's some open spaces, there's some natural areas to work with already that help us guide what could happen going into the future. This map kind of shows the distance between places. It kind of looks like the game Ticket to Ride, but the idea is that for a grown-up, it would take about 15 minutes to walk from one end of camp to the other. Of course, with groups of kids, that's going to be different timings, but it's not a huge property. We have opportunities to use every part of it in any given day. So how can we think about designing the property in that way? You can see on that map with the trails a kind of like camp highway, a connector that connects the different aspects of camp. This is a cool graphic I love that Ryan made. As you can see, there's a road that kind of runs along the west side of camp with some part of camp on the other side, mostly a lake. What that means is there will be a little bit more traffic along that road. There aren't very many cars that drive along the road. This entire time you've been listening to the video, not a single car has driven right along the road. But it is something to keep in mind that we may not want to put cabins right along the road or kind of those more quiet spaces for kids. Okay, the first of Ryan's blobs. As you can see, the big yellow blob in the middle is downtown stomping ground, the heart of the program. And then he's put, and this is where the villages are already, but he's put the map of the villages as far from the road as possible to give kids kind of that distance from the road, that quiet space, and then added some other aspects of camp for future programming, for the office and things like that. But it helps us start to think about, okay, if we're going to start adding things, if we're going to hang hammocks for the Grove, where can we start to think about where they are? And finally, Ryan's most fun map to look at is some more detailed blobs. They look like a section of 5 different villages with supporting bathhouses. It looks like expanding downtown stomping ground to include some more engaging opportunities for kids and potentially future programming in the north and south end of camp. We're imagining a million different ideas here, but this is the beginning of this process of what could we start to imagine at either end of camp while keeping kind of the heart of camp very exciting for kids and safe. Thanks so much for watching and being a part of this. I want to let you know this is the beginning of the plan. It's not concrete. It's the beginning of how can we imagine what camp will look like once we start getting kids here. Check out campstompingground.org/vision 2020 right here. There'll be these maps and some more information about how you can get involved and what we're working on. Thank you so much for being a part of it. You are Stomping Ground.